Hello there and welcome back to Hydroponics Daily, your go-to podcast for everything soilless cultivation. I'm your host, Dr. Russell Sharp, and it's very hot here and I've got the windows open, so you might hear some traffic and some diggers because they're building houses across the road from Utrema HQ. I don't know what the actual subject of today's podcast is. I'll wait for the AI bot to determine that. But basically, I'm going to be talking about what to do when you're growing plants from seed that have been stored for a long time. Now, we've talked in the past about how some plants can rejuvenate from seed, can grow again from seed, even when the seed have been stored for many years. They're non-recalcitrant. Recalcitrant seeds die after a short period of time in storage. Things like tomatoes, pumpkins, and legal cannabis can be stored for potentially decades. However, that doesn't mean, and they'll grow and they'll germinate. However, that doesn't mean that the plants are 100% healthy when they germinate. So what to do when you are going to grow plants that you have been stored for a long time? So maybe you're looking at rare genetics. If you know that the variety, the cultivar, the strain you're growing is rare and isn't grown very often, then the chances are it's been in a seed bank for a long time and not been grown. And the plant that they were harvested from was many years ago. So what to do in that situation? Well, the first thing is buy more seeds because you're going to have a very low germination rate. And once they germinate, the vigor will be very low. So I did this recently with some seeds that I bought, some rare tomato seeds, and the ones that grew were very, very spindly. And then most of them just died and only one survived out of 20 seeds sown. So that's the first thing, buy more seeds. And the second thing is realize that this is going to be, germination is going to be an issue, and make sure you've got your germination environment dialed in. Don't be just throwing them in some seed trays and put them in a glass house or in suboptimal conditions. These have got to be really optimal conditions. You've got to treat them really well. And because you want maximum germination, you want them to thrive when they get out there. The next point is that they're not going to grow as fast. And that's because they've been mutated. They will be mutants because they've been in storage for a long time. The cells have not been going through mitosis and repairing themselves. And so they will be weak. Once they've been stored for more than, say, 6 years, they really will be weak plants. And so you're going to need to treat them like they are weak plants. Don't think that they're going to grow really fast. They're going to need maybe dial back the nutrients, dial back the temperature, dial back the light levels a bit. Still want to be optimal. And the air movement as well, they're going to be weak. The stems are going to be weak. And then give them at least a week, maybe 2 weeks extra vegetative growth. If you're growing legal cannabis, if you're growing tomatoes, photoperiod has no effect on when they flower. When they flower, they will flower. And so if it's legal cannabis, give them 2 more weeks, at least 1 to 2 more weeks in veg, so long days. And then think about you're going to have to expand the growing season beyond that. They're going to be, they're not going to be as vigorous, so they won't need as much defoliation, probably leave more leaves on than you would normally. And think about it less about getting a crop in your first year. Don't think about how well they yield in their first year. It's just about getting seeds and reproducing that strain so that you get fresh seeds the next year. Because once they've gone through that one life cycle and they've produced more seeds, you can then select for the strongest ones, the ones that have repaired the genes or the mutant genes have been removed during meiosis when the seed production was the pollen and the ovules, the seeds were produced. So not about assessing yield on seeds that have been stored for a long time. It's more about getting them through that one life cycle, getting more seeds, and then assess it after that. A lot of people, I think, will be looking at strains and varieties and saying, oh, well, this was really poor yielding. But if it's been stored for a number of years, then it's definitely going to be that case. So that's something to consider. And if you are growing legal cannabis, obviously, normally you wouldn't want seed production. But in this case, I think you probably are best to produce some seeds and start again from that. Your strain won't become true from seed anyway, because a strain to come true, it needs to be vegetatively propagated. So you can select the best ones from the seeds that are produced. And then finally, just like any other weekly growing plant, it's going to be susceptible to pest and disease. So really be careful about making sure that you don't get an infestation, and then treating the infestations or infections as soon as they become visible. Do not let this get out of hand, because the plant will keel over and die if they are weakly growing. They're not like an alpine plant that just grows slowly, and these are growing slowly because their genes are damaged. So definitely something I've come across recently, and I don't think it's something that a lot of people who are sort of hunting rare genetics should be aware of. So that's been Hydroponics Daily for today. If you thought it was interesting, if you know anyone who's breeding plants, any legal cannabis breeders or pheno hunters, as they're called, then please share this episode with them. And if you've had this episode shared with you, then you owe that person a cool, cold drink. Thank you very much for listening. Until tomorrow, goodbye.